My sister, Emily, called me crying, demanding I pay $50,000 for her dream destination wedding in Hawaii. She said it was my duty as her sister. I stared at my bank account. $2,000. How could she expect this from me, a single mom scraping by? Before I dive into this story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe, and stay tuned. I was washing dishes when my phone buzzed. Emily's name flashed on the screen. I answered, expecting her usual chatter about her fiancé, Mark. Instead, she was sobbing. "You have to pay for my wedding, Sarah," she said. "It's in Hawaii, and it's $50,000. You're my sister." I froze, sponge in hand. My tiny apartment, my son's school fees. How could I afford this? I told her I didn't have that kind of money. She got mad, saying I was selfish, that I owed her for always being there. Being there. She'd never even babysat my son, Tommy. I hung up, my stomach in knots, wondering how she could ask this of me. The next day, Emily texted me a wedding venue link. It showed a fancy beach resort with palm trees and crystal water. I could almost hear her voice. "This is my dream." I didn't reply. My bank account had $2,000 for rent and Tommy's school supplies. That evening, she called again, saying I was ruining her big day. "You're my only family," she said. "If you loved me, you'd find a way." Her words stung. I remembered when we were kids, sharing secrets. But now, she felt like a stranger. I said I'd think about it, just to end the call. I sat down with my budget after Tommy went to bed. Rent, groceries, daycare, every penny was accounted for. Paying for Emily's wedding would mean loans or worse, losing our home. I felt trapped. Why did she think I had money to spare? I called my best friend, Lisa, for advice. She listened, then said, "Emily's always been selfish. Don't let her guilt you." Lisa was right, but it didn't ease the pressure. Emily's texts kept coming, "You're letting me down." I stared at my phone, torn between family and survival. Emily showed up at my apartment unannounced. She wore designer sunglasses and carried a fancy purse. "Sarah, we need to talk," she said, stepping inside. Tommy ran to hug her, but she barely noticed him. She sat down and showed me wedding magazines, pointing at dresses and flowers. "It's not just a wedding," she said. "It's my future with Mark." I tried explaining my situation. Single mom, tight budget. She rolled her eyes. "You always make excuses." I felt my face get hot. I wanted to scream, but Tommy was watching. I asked her to leave. Mom called me that night. Emily had told her everything. "Sarah, why can't you help your sister?" she asked. I explained my finances, but Mom sighed. Family sacrifices for each other. I felt like I was drowning. Even Dad texted, saying I should step up. I lay awake, thinking about Emily's wedding. I wanted her to be happy, but at what cost? Tommy needed new shoes, and my car was making weird noises. I couldn't shake the guilt, but I also couldn't see a way to pay. Emily sent me an email with a payment plan. She'd broken down the $50,000 into manageable monthly payments. I laughed bitterly. It was more than my rent. I wrote back, saying I couldn't do it. Her reply was cold, "You're choosing money over family." I showed Lisa the email. She hugged me and said, "You're not wrong to say no." But the words didn't help. Emily's accusation echoed in my head. I looked at Tommy, playing with his toys, oblivious. I had to protect him, even if it meant losing my sister. A week later, a fancy envelope arrived. It was Emily's wedding invitation, gold embossed, with Hawaii in big letters. I opened it, and a note fell out, "Hope you can make it, Sarah. Please reconsider." My heart sank. She wasn't giving up. I showed Tommy the invite. He got excited, thinking we were going to the beach. I didn't have the heart to tell him we couldn't afford the trip, let alone the wedding. I tucked the invite away, wondering how to face Emily next. I met Emily at a cafe to talk. She looked perfect, as always, sipping a latte. I told her I couldn't pay or even attend. She slammed her cup down. "You're so selfish, Sarah," she yelled. People stared. I felt small but stood my ground. Driving home, I cried. I wanted to support her, but I wasn't a bank. Tommy asked why I was sad. I hugged him and said, "Just grown-up stuff." I decided to focus on us, not Emily's drama. Emily stopped texting after the cafe. No calls, no messages. Mom said Emily was heartbroken. I felt guilty but relieved. I focused on Tommy, helping with homework, saving for his shoes. Life felt lighter without Emily's demands, but at night, I missed her. We used to be close, laughing over silly things. Now, it was just silence. I wondered if I'd made the right choice or if I'd lost my sister forever. Lisa invited me to a barbecue at her house. Her brother, Jake, was there. He'd heard about Emily's wedding from Lisa. "That's ridiculous," he said. "You're not her ATM." His words felt like a lifeline. Someone understood. Jake offered to help me talk to Emily. He'd been through family drama and knew how to stay calm. I wasn't sure, but I agreed. Maybe he could help me fix things without losing everything. Jake called me a few days after the barbecue. He suggested we meet Emily together to explain my side calmly. I was nervous but agreed. We set a date at a park, neutral ground. I spent the night worrying, would Emily even listen? At the park, Tommy played on the swings while I waited. Jake arrived first, giving me a reassuring smile. When Emily showed up, she looked annoyed but sat down. Jake started, "Sarah loves you, Emily, but she's got her own life." I hoped she'd understand this time. Emily crossed her arms, barely looking at me. "You don't get it, Sarah," she said. "This wedding is my chance to start fresh with Mark." She talked about her job stress and how the wedding was her escape. I hadn't realized she was struggling too. I told her about my bills, Tommy's needs. Jake nodded, keeping things calm. Emily softened a bit but said, "I still need your help." I offered to help plan instead of pay. She didn't say yes or no, just left it. A week later, Emily texted, asking me to help pick her wedding flowers. I was surprised but said yes. We met at a florist shop. She pointed at expensive roses, and I suggested cheaper daisies. She laughed, and for a moment, we felt like sisters again. Driving home, I felt hopeful. Maybe we could rebuild something. But then she texted about the venue deposit, still expecting money. I sighed, realizing she hadn't fully heard me. I decided to keep helping, but only what I could manage. Tommy saw me stressed and asked, "Why's Aunt Emily mad at you?" I explained she wanted a big wedding, but we didn't have enough money. He hugged me and said, "I like our house better than a beach." His words made me laugh and cry at the same time. I called Lisa for advice. She said to set clear boundaries with Emily. I wrote a message, offering to help with small things like invitations but no money. Emily didn't reply. I wondered if I'd pushed her too far. Mom invited me to a family dinner, saying Emily would be there. I dreaded it but went for Tommy's sake. At the table, Emily barely spoke to me. Dad asked about the wedding, and Emily said, "Sarah's not helping much." I bit my tongue, not wanting a fight. After dinner, Mom pulled me aside. "She's hurt, Sarah. Try harder." I explained my side again, but Mom just sighed. Driving home with Tommy asleep in the back, I felt alone. Why couldn't they see my side? Jake suggested I offer Emily something small, like paying for the cake. I called her and proposed covering $500 for it. She paused, then said, "Fine, but it's not enough." I felt a mix of relief and frustration. She accepted, but still wanted more. I ordered the cake, a simple one with daisies. Emily texted a thank you, her first kind message in weeks. I hoped it was a step forward, but I braced myself for more demands. Tommy helped me pick the design, making it fun. Emily asked me to meet her wedding planner, Claire. I went, expecting tension, but Claire was kind. She showed us budget options for decorations. Emily frowned but picked some. I felt useful, suggesting ways to save. For once, Emily didn't argue. At home, I told Lisa about it. She said, "You're doing more than enough." I wasn't sure. Emily still hadn't apologized, and I wondered if she ever would. But helping felt better than fighting, so I kept going. Claire called me about a mix-up. Emily had added extra decorations, thinking I'd pay. The bill was $2,000. I was furious. Emily hadn't even asked. I called her, and she said, "I thought you'd want to help more." I told her no more money. She hung up, and I felt betrayed. Tommy saw me upset and drew me a picture to cheer me up. I hugged him, promising myself I'd protect our little life, no matter what Emily did. Emily showed up at my door, eyes red. "I'm sorry," she said. "I got carried away." She admitted she was stressed about Mark's job and took it out on me. I listened, still hurt, but nodded. We hugged, and it felt like a small step. We talked about the wedding. I offered to make centerpieces to save money. She smiled, grateful. I wasn't sure if things were fixed, but it was a start. Tommy ran to join our hug, making us laugh. We spent a weekend making centerpieces at my place. Emily brought supplies, and Tommy helped glue ribbons. We laughed, reminiscing about old times. It felt like the sister I remembered was back. She even played with Tommy, which made him giggle. Later, she admitted she couldn't afford the full wedding either. Mark's job was shaky, and they'd borrowed money. I felt for her but stood firm, no more paying. She nodded, and I hoped she meant it. Emily invited me to the wedding rehearsal, now moved to a local venue to save money. I brought Tommy, who was excited to see Aunt Emily's party. At the rehearsal, Emily was stressed but thanked me for the centerpieces. Mark smiled at me, a rare gesture. During the dinner, Emily's friends whispered about the downsized wedding. I felt bad for her but proud I'd held my ground. Tommy tugged my sleeve, asking if we could dance. We did, and for a moment, I forgot the drama. 2 days before the wedding, Emily called, panicked. The caterer needed $1,000 upfront, and she was short. "Please, Sarah," she begged. I sighed, tired of this cycle. I offered $200, my limit. She took it but sounded disappointed. I felt used again. At home, Tommy asked if we were going to the wedding. I said yes, but only to watch. I wasn't sure if Emily and I could ever be close again. Her demands kept breaking my trust, and I needed to protect myself. The wedding was simple but beautiful. Emily looked stunning in her dress, and Mark teared up at the altar. Tommy clapped loudly, making me smile. I stayed in the back, helping with small tasks but keeping my distance. Emily didn't ask for more money, which felt like progress. At the reception, she hugged me, whispering, "Thanks for being here." I nodded, unsure what to say. We danced with Tommy, and for a moment, it felt like old times. But I knew things weren't fully fixed. A week after the wedding, Emily called to talk. She admitted she'd been wrong to pressure me. "I was scared it wouldn't happen," she said. I told her how her demands hurt me. She listened, and we both cried. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. I invited her over for dinner with Tommy. She played with him, and we talked like sisters again. I hoped we could rebuild, but I'd keep my boundaries. Family was important, but so was my peace. Months later, Emily and I were talking more, but I stayed careful. She'd visit, bringing small gifts for Tommy, and we'd laugh over coffee. I helped her with small things, like budgeting tips, and she listened. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. Tommy asked if Aunt Emily was happy now. I said, "I think so, buddy." I looked at my little family, me and Tommy, and knew I'd made the right choice. We were enough, and I'd always protect that. If you've ever witnessed such a drama, comment below.